Let's get our linebacker up. Can we get Cobb up?
Cobb joining us now on Birds 365. Garry, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. How you doing this morning?
Good. It was adventure trying to get on.
Get knocked out by the global. Yeah, maybe you're in that level with.
Yeah, that's what it told me. Yeah, I guess they're having some kind of thing going on. That's hitting everything. But I was able to use the wife's.
Nice. All right, you're working hard. We appreciate it, Cobb. Good to see you, by the way. So, all right, we got a linebacker in the house, so I got to talk to you about linebackers. Where's Cobb? I say, look, you give Howie Roseman all his flowers, but I think he's taken it too far at linebacker, Cobb. They don't value the position, and it's changed a lot since your days, and I get part of it, but I just think he's taken it too far. Your thoughts?
Well, the thing is, it's still a very important position because you got to have athletes at the linebacker position, and look back, of course, they let the young fella leave out of here to Chicago. Come on, that was a mistake. He had. But anyway, it's a very important position. Maybe you just have two linebackers on the field. Maybe you just have one a lot of times because, of course, you have, a lot of times you got multiple tight ends on the field or, 2 or 3 or 4 wide receivers on the field. So you got to have less linebackers. But the linebackers you have out there are very important. They got to be able to make one-on-one tackles in the open field. If you're playing zone, sometimes they're going to be playing wide receivers within the zone. So they got to have good quickness. They got to be smart. They got to get everybody lined up where they're supposed to be. Of course, they got to be able to tackle. And they've got to be able to tackle out in the open field. So it's a very important position. I mean, maybe you don't have as many of them on the field, as much as you did in the past. But it's tremendously important. And I'm hoping the guys they brought in here that are going to be able to do a good job. I mean, Devin White, I know teams are going to try to run right at him because he's not that big. He is pretty athletic, but he had a bad year last year, and he's got to improve on that. And, of course, you look at the rest of the players they have there, they don't have guys that have done the job. So you got big question marks over all of them. Some of them, have some talent and everything, but that doesn't mean they're going to be able to do it on the NFL level and do it consistently. And so that's why really you look at the linebacker position and you can't feel great about it. You got these guys got to prove it. Of course, they got, Zach Bond, they got him in there, and he's never played that position for that many plays. Most of the time he's been lining up outside. So
yeah. But you mentioned those instincts, Cobb, because that's the thing. Nobody questions Devin White's athleticism, nor should they. Mm-hmm. I mean, the guy was the number 5 overall pick for a reason.
Yeah.
But we got a large sample size in Tampa Bay. And everybody watched him play for 5 years, said maybe the instincts weren't there. How important is that for the linebacker position?
It is. It's really probably the number one factor, because if you're not in the right place, if you can't decipher what they're doing, then you're out of position and you're not going to be making plays. The great linebackers are always around the ball. Whether you're running the ball or throwing the ball, they're able to figure out what you're doing, and they're always around the ball. And if you got a linebacker that's not around the ball, I mean, he's not worth having out there. And, he's got to be able to tackle out in the open field. And if you can't, then they're going to go after him. And you cannot really, you can't hide that linebacker because he's going to be out in open space. And see, that's the thing they've got to be able to do. They got to be able to tackle out in the open field because it's not that hard when you've got the spread offense to be able to get the guy in a one-on-one situation out in the open field. So we're going to see whether he's able to do it anymore or not. I know, he's been a good player in the past, of course, playing on that Super Bowl team.
He was great in the playoffs leading up to the Super Bowl.
That's right. So
yeah.
We will see. You know, I don't know if I would. You know, I would put your money on it, but I don't know if I would. Put my money.
That's a fair point. Cobb, you brought up TJ Edwards. I mean, part of the reason he was great is because he was instinctual. It wasn't because he was the uber athletic guy. You know, let me talk to you about Nakobe Dean, the Eagles' 3rd-round draft pick from a couple years ago. Where are you on Nakobe Dean, Garry? Are you still in on Nakobe Dean? I'm teetering toward out. He just can't stay on the field. Where are you as we enter this season on Nakobe Dean?
Well, you know, I look at him, and you know, in the workouts and things, and I know I don't see the burst of speed. Now, you know, Devin's got that burst. You know, he can close on guys, close on the ball, and everything. I don't see that with Nakobe. I don't see the burst. He is smart, you know, which is very important. I think he's got good instincts, but he's got to stay healthy and get out there and do it. You know, and we haven't seen that, and we haven't really seen him really, you know, with that passion to where I'm finding my way on the field, and he's got to make him put him on the field. I mean, you got to come out there with such a passion to where doggone you will not be denied, and I haven't seen that out of him yet. You know, he just you know, he's done all right in practice, you know, but of course in practice, you know, they don't do but so much anymore. You know, it's not where you're seeing them doing a lot of tackling drills and everything. And really at the linebacker position, the number one thing or the top things amongst the top things he's got to be doing is tackling, being a sure tackler, a guy who can tackle people in the open field and make plays. You know, the linebacker has got to be a playmaker, especially the way it is now where you got all this field to cover, and they're going to get you in one-on-one situations, and you're going to have to tackle wide receivers in one-on-one situations in that space where you're playing zone. Now, I do like the way that Vic, I like the way that their defense plays zone. They play man-to-man within the zone, and I do like that. I like some of the things I'm seeing out of the defense.
Yeah, there's a lot of man principles in those Vic Fangio zones. So, you know, sometimes people get confused, and that creates communication issues.
Yep.
So while you went down that route, Cobb, I say, you know, so many people around this league have played big schemes, and when they go bad, it's generally because of lack of communication on the back end. Mm-hmm. And the Eagles got a lot of talented young corners. Quinyon Mitchell coming in, Cooper DeJean, Kelly Ringo's in his 2nd year. Isaiah Rogers looked great in the spring, but they're all young players, and that is a very complicated defense from those zone principles.
Yes.
You expect that to bite them early? Should people be prepared for the occasional blown coverage?
I think that it's just something that's inevitable. You know, when you've got young players and you've got a system like they have, which it is, I mean, even when I'm sitting there watching it, I have to look at it again to see exactly what they were doing, because he does a great job of these subtle changes in the zone, really to keep a quarterback guessing. So they've got to be communicating, passing receivers from one zone to the other and communicating with their teammates and everything. And in my time playing with young players, you know, they get out there. A lot of times they stop talking. You know, you're in the huddle, and the guy looks like he's really, you know, dropping a deuce or something.
Well, they're thinking too much. That's that's part of my problem with, you know, and you've seen it elsewhere.
Yeah,
and you even saw it in the Super Bowl. The Eagles were the #1 pass defense in the NFL. And they blew coverages in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know.
So you can be that good and still miscommunicate on one play, and bang. Yeah, you got the narrative.
It's tough. And with a lot of things that Fangio, a lot of things he does in his defense, the guys have got to be communicating, and they're going to be changing. I think he changes things on routes and of course formations, and so they've got to be communicating, and guys have got to be on the same page, because really a lot of times, even if you just simplify things to where you just make sure everybody's just playing a standard zone.
Cover 2, baby.
That's
Cover
right.
2 it.
and you just keep, you know, you just at least play and just tackle the guy with the ball and don't give up the big play. A lot of times that's what you end up doing if guys are not communicating well, but You can't afford to be turning guys loose, man. I'm telling you. It really looks bad when you got guys running into the end zone, standing up with nobody near them. You know, that gets a coach fired, and it gets gets a lot of unhappiness in Philadelphia. I tell you that.
Garry, not every day we get to talk to a former NFL player. You had a 10-year career in the NFL.
11.
How do you view
11-year
career in the NFL? How do you view, or what are you watching for coming back into this training camp? And what I mean is, they collapsed last year. They had a historic collapse. As a guy that played in the league, has been in locker rooms, speaks with players still to this day, what's on your mind as you approach training camp in order for them to turn this thing around? What are you most focused on?
Well, I'll tell you one thing I've kind of already seen, really. I saw, during the workouts they had during the offseason, I saw Jalen Hurts talking to A.J. Brown, talking to Devontae Smith. When they come off, well, Devontae wasn't there, but he's talking to the receivers every time he comes to the sideline, which is the way it should be. Last year, Jalen's sitting over there on the side. Whatever. Look, you got to be talking about, what did you see? What are they doing against us? It's an ongoing thing, especially if the offense is not moving. You should be talking to each other. Hey, what can we do? And I saw that on the sideline, during the workouts they're having. I can see they made a point to do that. You got to be talking to each other, and that's something that needs to happen. And you didn't see that really with the coaches either. When they were having their problems, I didn't see them on the sideline trying to work things out. What can we do? You're talking to your receivers. Hey, what can you run on that guy? How can you get open? This is part of the game. You don't have everybody sitting over in a corner somewhere. No, the thing you want to do is be talking to each other. And, Nick says that all the time. Well, they weren't doing it very well last year. When they were getting to when they're having trouble, guys are, dragging over there, sitting. You didn't see anybody over there talking, trying to see, well, what can we do? What adjustment can we make? And, a good quarterback is over there with his receiver saying, hey, look, what route can you run and beat this guy? What is he doing? What is he showing you? And it's something, that any sport, you got to communicate with each other. And I saw them doing that during those workouts. And I expect them to be doing that a lot more this year because they got veteran guys. And when you're veterans, you've seen a lot of things. So you can talk to each other. You can make adjustments right during the game. In fact, almost during the play, you can make adjustments if you're communicating with each other and you stay on the same page. And that's what I expect to see this year. And even if you lose a game, you got to be communicating with each other. Hey, what did we do wrong? What can we do? And it's almost like when you get players that are seasoned, the coach is really secondary. The guys are coaching themselves. Everybody already knows what you did wrong on that play, and if you're a veteran player, a lot of times you already know. You know what the coach is going to say before you even get to the sideline because you know what you did wrong, So that's what I expect to see because they got seasoned guys, especially on their offense. Come on, look at all the experience they have there. And I would want to come over there with a pointed shoe boot and kick everybody up the butt if they don't do a better job of talking to each other this year and make adjustments because it's ridiculous. Come on. Going like you didn't just get in the league.
By the way, now that Kelsey can speak freely, Cobb, I don't know if you saw it, but he said he hadn't looked at a playbook in 10 years. Now he's an offensive lineman. Yeah. He's doing the same thing with Jeff Stoutland. But he was like on his podcast, he said, yeah, I haven't looked at one in 10 years. And Travis is looking at him like he's nuts because Travis is involved in the passing game. It's a big difference. But I thought it was hilarious when Jason let people in on that. And that's where I want to go with you because you mentioned 11 years in the NFL. You got all the helmets up there. Detroit, I see the Eagles. I see the Cowboys. I see SC. By the way, I think I know what your favorite helmet is. And it's not the NFL teams. I could be wrong, but I think it's SC. When you show up at training camp next week, what was the difference when you guys did 2-a-days back in the day? I mean, it's unbelievable, JAKIB. Unbelievable the difference.
We can't get together like anything with the former players. Guys are just going off about, of course, the differences in training camp now as compared to what we went through with training camp. And really, to be honest with you, I think that that we over practice, and now they under practice, if you ask me, because back years ago when I was playing, one of the teams that had success and was winning Super Bowls all the time, they didn't practice like everybody else. That's the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
They worked on the detail. They did some hitting and everything, but they didn't overdo it. We overdid it. We killed each other. I mean, we were going live against each other 4 and 5 times a week, basically playing full games, each day and just killing each other. And then we go into the start of the season and guys were kind of worn down. And I'll tell you, I'm going to tell a little bit on a buddy of mine, but Mike Quick. Okay. Now, Mike was ahead of the game.
Yeah, Mike tells this story all the time. Yeah.
Look, Mike used to tell his agent, look, I'm holding out. I'm not going to be available to such and such date.
Yeah.
And whatever you need to do, I want you to stall, whatever, tell them whatever reason, use whatever you want, but I'm not going in until this date. And then he's out running routes, and he would come into the season every year. He would start off with a 150, 200-yard game because his legs were fresh. He was ready to go. And we're all worn down because we've been in the training camp for however many weeks. And just with that alone shows you that we were doing too much hitting. We were wearing each other out rather than to start the season. Now the Eagles have taken this over to the other side of it.
Yeah.
But you can't do too much. And
Mike's very proud of that. Mike loves that. Mike was ahead of the game. Yeah, he loves telling that story.
He was ahead of the game. And the thing about it is he comes in. We've been killing ourselves. And like I said, he starts off with 160, 200-yard game. He's bouncing around. His legs are fresh and everything. And but he was right. And you can overdo it. So you don't want to overdo it at the same time. Guys need some hitting and they need to be running their routes and they need to be sharp. And, you got to put in some work, consistent work, in order to be at that state of your game. And they need to start off fast. So, and that offense, I'm thinking, I want to see you averaging 31 points a game or something like that. I mean, they got a lot of weapons.
I'll tell you, G, man, there are a lot of expectations on poor Kellen Moore.
I know.
I mean, everybody thinks this is a stinking all-star team and it's going to be easy. And
no, it's not, because they got to get used to playing with each other. And so I would cut them some slack. I don't want to take it too far, but they do have a lot of weapons. And if they, can, get in sync, and I do like the fact that I see a lot more motion, and from what those guys were saying, they're giving the wide receivers a lot of freedom to do different things, but they just got to make sure they're on the same page. Now, they weren't lighting things up there in that camp. So hopefully, I know they've been working out with each other and everything, but they got all of the weapons, they got all of the talent, and hopefully they'll get in sync because, offense has got to be on the same page, and even more so than the defense, because a lot of times defensively, you can do things aggressively and just mess up a play and somebody was out of position, but because you have one guy went in there and blew the play up, you can get away with mistakes, but you got to play aggressively. But offensively, if you're not on the same page, you might as well take it home because you're not gonna play well.
Jay, let's talk about the engine of that offense, Jalen Hurts. How confident are you in Jalen Hurts coming back this year? Obviously, MVP caliber player in 22. small regression last year. How confident are you in Hurts coming into this year?
I feel good about it. I think that, he has got to be communicating with his coaches. And as I said, he's got to be open, and he's got to be open to, talking to AJ, talking to Devontae, with Dallas Goedert, making sure, because, as a quarterback, a lot of times you got to keep everybody happy too. Because, of course, a lot of guys want the ball every play. You can't do that. But, you give them the BS. Hey, look, man, I'm coming to you, whatever. You got to keep everybody happy. So on the sideline, good quarterbacks, you'll see them. They're talking to the guys because you do want to make sure they feel that, hey, you're looking for them. And so Jalen, he definitely needs to play better, but a lot of it is going to be based on his communications with Kellen Moore, by letting him know what he likes, and how he feels about, the game plan and everything. And he's getting to the point where he's got enough experience, especially with all of the offenses he's played in, to where he can give his opinion, what he likes, what he doesn't like, what he thinks will work, and I think this is going to be a challenging year for him. But with the talent that they have, I'm expecting a lot. Yeah, I am expecting a big year out of him. And I think he can get things back together and really have a big year. So we will see.
At Garry Cobb, 2 R's. If you want to follow JAKIB on X, Twitter, JAKIB.com, you can see him there. Fox 29, Fox 29 locally in Philadelphia. We get a lot of international listeners as well. So if you're local, you can see G there. Nick Sirianni, got to end it there with you. A lot of people around this league thinks Nick is coaching for his job. And we know the shelf life, everybody's got a shelf life in this league. Yeah. Everybody's renting space. You as a player, all the coaches, even us media people, everybody's renting space. Nobody owns anything. Everybody's got that shelf life. Is that where you are with Nick Sirianni? He got a mulligan. He's got to perform this year, or it's on to the next chapter.
Yeah, I think he's probably at that point. I mean, and he's in a tough situation because, if anything, he kind of got a demotion. I mean, to not really be running the offense or the defense. That's tough. And he's in a situation where he's really, got some pressure on him. So the big thing he needs to do is, wherever you're at, you can learn at the NFL. Now he should. I'm sure he's taking in a lot of what Kellen Moore is going to be doing offensively, and he should have some input. And even if you are not really running everything, you still should be able to contribute. And so he's got to have a good attitude. I mean, because you could see where he could get the kind of attitude where he's almost wanting things to mess up. So they got to depend on him. But he's got to have a good attitude, go in there and work with Kellen Moore, and those guys work together and make sure that this team plays well. And a lot of that's going to depend on him, having the right kind of attitude. And I take my hat off to him, because it's not easy to really probably coach in the situation he's in.
Garry, a lot of anticipation coming up for this season, man. Everybody's waiting to see what the Philadelphia Eagles will do. A lot of hype, a lot of excitement. Yeah, they better win. You're right. You said it, man. 31 points on offense. The expectations for this team are sky high, as they should be. Very good roster, very good team. So we'll see how they do this year. G Cobb, thanks for joining Birds 365 today, man. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks, bud.
There's Garry Cobb joining us on Birds 365. Great to talk to former player, 11-year NFL player, Garry Cobb. Good stuff from G Cobb. John, what'd you take away from what Garry had to say?
We started with the linebackers as we should, and that's been the theme of the show. Is Gary's a former linebacker for the younger people, 11 years, as he mentioned, in the NFL. Different era, which a lot of guys, we get into this with Seth as well. I mean, almost a completely different position. In Gary's day, usually had 3 linebackers on the field. It was much more physical game, much more about run support. Now it's about athleticism. It's about guys in space. As Cobb kind of explained, you're always getting matched up with receivers. Everybody's trying to spread you out. And, you know, this debate on devaluing the position, you know, the good teams have good linebackers. And that G said they still got to make plays. So I agree with Howie to a point about devaluing the position. But man, I mean, look at Baltimore's linebackers. Look at San Francisco's linebackers. And look what happened when they lost Greenlaw in the Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't know.
That's what drives me the most crazy about it, is that, like, running backs, you're Howie's right, where, like, you look across the league and there are teams that have tremendous success without going and signing a big running back. You know, even Patrick Mahomes, who has Isaiah Pacheco, who I think was a late 6th or 7th round pick. Seventh round pick, Isaiah Pacheco. Now, he's a good player. I'm just saying, linebacker, it's really not the same. I mean, you look around at the best players in the league, at best teams in the league, and you're like, yeah, they got pretty good linebackers.
Yeah.
So that's where I don't really get the evaluation.
Yeah. And it really comes down to more of, like, the Eagles are searching for good line. It's not like they're not searching for good linebackers. And that's why you criticize them when they hit on one of them, not an initial massive investment, TJ Edwards. That's where the mistake came. That when you get a good player, keep a good player. And they've invested in Nakobe and Davion Taylor recently as 3rd-round picks. Davion didn't work out. Nakobe hasn't worked out to this point. So you got to hit it. I mean, Fred Warner was a 3rd-round pick. Drake Greenlaw, I believe, was a 5th. So, you know, but the difference is, all right, San Francisco hit on those linebackers, and then they paid them when they turned into good players. That's where the Eagles have differed. Not that every 3rd-round pick or every 5th rounder or day 3 pick is going to, and maybe Jeremiah Trotter Jr. hits. Probably going to take a little bit of a while, but you know, if he does, are you going to pay him in that second deal? History says they're not. That's maybe where the Eagles have made the mistake.
Yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. Good stuff from Garry Cobb. I thought it was interesting what he said about Jalen Hurts, too. He kind of wants him to be that more vocal leader. You know, we've talked about that many times this summer, where you don't want to change him too much. But Garry Cobb is definitely looking for more vocal leadership from Jalen Hurts. So I thought that was interesting. We will see what that looks like. Just 4 days away, everybody. 4 freaking days away until the Philadelphia Eagles report to camp. Next Wednesday, we'll have a different show schedule, so we'll update you on that on Monday and Tuesday. Johnny Mac, great shows this week, brother. Have a great weekend. Hopefully you get outside a little bit before we start up on this training camp. Enjoy your weekend, brother. I'll talk to you on Monday. All right, sir?
All right, sounds good. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for
gearing up.
What's that?
We're gearing up for
yes,
next
we are. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Thanks, everybody, for being here today. Make sure you guys hit the like on your way out. Stay tuned. The National Football Show coming up at 2 p.m. today. Appreciate you all being here. I'll see you on Monday on Birds 365.